Once again, my face is not shown in the video for my safety. I'm going to start uploading everything to YouTube until I can figure out how to get 10-minute videos on TikTok. In my previous videos, I'm telling you about my story. Well, I'm going to have to tell that story again because I didn't realize that TikTok only allowed 3 minutes. This will be uploaded to YouTube. I have contacted somebody in Washington, and I hope it makes a difference. Every day I succeed at bringing more and more attention to my case. And if I can succeed, then it will be harder for Henderson County, North Carolina, or any county in the United States to do this to somebody else. I am reading off of an email that I've been sending to lawyers and politicians. So if I sound robotic, that's why. In April or May of last year, I was so tired of Hendersonville police harassing me for the way my vehicle looks that I called them on their office line. And I said, I could be getting raped and robbed at the same time, and you'll find a way to make it my fault because I'm homeless. On June 4th, they proved me right. But just a different scenario. On June 4th of last year, 2021, my best friend saved my life, John Forsberg, with my gun. Justin Wayne Brown tried to kill us, and Michelle Baldwin drove him to us when we had begged her not to bring him around us the day before because she said he was acting crazy. John saved my life with my gun. I did not ask him to, but I did tell him that I was afraid to go by myself because Justin was threatening to kill us, and he was completely irate. I'm a domestic violence survivor. My dad beat the shit out of me and my younger sister. I am the black sheep of my family, so because I wouldn't put up with it, everything that happened in the family became my fault. Black sheep sort of thing. What led to this situation, I have 9 months to wonder what the hell happened. Me and John were bringing too much attention to the way that the police were treating the homeless in Hendersonville. The only conclusion I can come to that makes any sense for why they would want a false confession out of me, especially with me being autistic, and they knew I was slow in some areas, and they took complete advantage of it. This could happen to anybody with autism. The police in Hendersonville, North Carolina are cruel and evil people. I have only met one that was even worth talking to. The sheriff's department is no different. I had one of them try to run me off of the road 2 weeks ago. He went 85 miles per hour in a 45 zone and turned onto the street that I was on and almost slammed into me trying to pull me over from 1 mile away. And apparently in Henderson County, they're allowed to do things like this. Now, let's go back to the beginning of my story since I keep trailing off. In 2021, I lost my apartment in Gastonia due to an unpaid COVID leave. I did not go back home because of the way my family is. We're all divided and we all hate each other because of my dad. I was glad to leave when my dog was killed there, and I didn't want the rescue I had just gotten to be killed either. I ended up with 3 German Shepherds. It was unintentional, but I loved them both. I loved them all equally. My oldest shepherd had been badly beaten and abused before he came to me. It is not that he mattered more to me than the little ones, Odin and Osiris, but Shadow had physical and mental scars from whatever he'd been through, and it broke my heart. I made it my mission to show that dog that the world was not evil, and I feel like I broke that promise because of the Henderson County Police. I moved to Hendersonville, North Carolina to live in my car. I wish I'd known that living in my car would have been the best thing in the world. I saved so much money. I am and was restoring 2 classic cars that mean everything to me. I've worked blood, sweat, and tears and literally broken bones and ligaments for what I have, and I've never taken anything that I have for granted. My plan was to restore both of my classics and buy a house instead of renting because of what happened. I was making $2,144 a month at Amazon in Mills River after taxes. I loved my job. Once again, I had 3 dogs: Shadow, solid black German Shepherd; Osiris and Odin, solid white German Shepherds. They were my whole world, and I always said there is no me without them. Even when people would call the cops on my dogs in my car, even when they were perfectly fine. That is what the cops were told, so it's not like they didn't know how much my dogs and my car meant to me. It's been brought up several times to them. My dogs were registered PTSD/emotional support with a doctor's note. When the police in Hendersonville found out that I lived in my car, they would not stop harassing me. I just wanted to be left alone and be in peace, but I was looking over my shoulder constantly. Even when I wasn't doing anything wrong, a police car or a sheriff's car made me nervous. And they still do, because they still won't leave me alone. I believe it's worth mentioning that back then and now, I have driven my car across 4 states and been left alone by the local police and the state troopers in those states because I don't do anything on the road to even warrant attention. Even now, the state troopers leave me alone, and if any of you North Carolina state troopers are watching this, I really appreciate you for not harassing me, because it makes all the difference in the world to not have to look over my shoulder when I am not even doing anything wrong. You guys are awesome for that. So, I also would like to thank every police officer in the rest of North Carolina except Hendersonville, because you guys don't harass me either. But when the vehicle has Hendersonville written on it, I always get pulled over no matter what I'm doing. Even if I'm following the road rules, it doesn't matter. I've got a target on myself and on my car. This car is all I got left of that dog that died. And it is extremely sentimental to me. Restoring it's going to take some time. That both my cars would have been restored by now if this had all not happened. Let me get back to my story. I noticed when I moved up there to live in my car that I was being treated different than when I lived in Hendersonville from 2014 to 2019. Back then, the difference I figured out is that I had an address to go home to at the end of the night. Being a delivery driver for 5 years did help. Now that I'm living in my car, they won't leave me alone. And so there is a difference in the way they treat the homeless versus someone who has a place to go home to at the end of the night. I've been on both ends of that stick with them. I was pulled over so many times last year that I started calling into work with bogus excuses because I was scared to even drive to work. I would get pulled over 2 or 3 times before I even got there, and it made me a nervous wreck. I have severe anxiety. I was having panic attacks. No medication helps it. The dogs helped with it. And I shouldn't even have to be looking over my shoulder in that way. I really loved that job. It was the best job I ever had. I have 2 witnesses to this. John Forsberg, who saved my life, is one of them. For the other person's privacy, I will not bring his name up, but I will tell a lawyer that he is a witness when I find one. Several times on Four Seasons Boulevard last year in 2021, and on Boylston Highway on my way to Amazon, technically 8 lanes between us. Usually at night, I have had the police pass my vehicle from the front, see the T-boned side of my vehicle, and I've watched them slam on their brakes in my rearview mirror to do a complete U-turn and pull me over because they don't like my bicycle rack or my tail light. The same bicycle rack that all the tourists in Western North Carolina use, but somehow only my car gets pulled over for it. I've actually seen tourists with bicycles on their racks covering their plates, and they're not getting pulled over. I've also seen locals with bicycle racks that cover their plates, and they have no plates, but the police leave them alone. It's a small town. I notice things. Being autistic and having anxiety, I'm extremely vigilant of what goes on around me. I'm high-functioning autistic, and it's not the same as mental retardation. There is a lower functioning where people can be slower. That does not mean they're stupid. One night when I was staying at Planet Fitness in Hendersonville, and this has happened more than once, this situation has, I got ready to go to work, and I started pulling out between Great Clips and Little Caesars. By some miracle, my car stalled, even though there was nothing wrong with it. Right when that happened, a Hendersonville Sheriff's Department vehicle raced up from out behind Little Caesars building, and it seemed like it was out of nowhere, and they slammed on their brakes right before the entrance to Little Caesars. There was nobody in front of them and no reason to slam on their brakes. When they saw that I hadn't pulled out, they sat there and watched me for a little bit and left. John watched this. I reversed my car back into my parking space beside John's, and I told John, I don't think I'm going to work tonight. They still won't leave me alone. I'm going to call in. Actually, when I got out of jail, I had a similar thing happen where I was pulling out of the Shell on Spartanburg, and one of my friends saw this, and it's on camera. One of the Hendersonville Police Department stopped between the 2 exits and entrances by Shell as I was about to pull out, and I noticed the vehicle stopped in the middle of the road at night. There was no reason for it to be stopped, and I refused to pull out because even though the lights were blinding me, I knew what it was and why they were doing it, because it had happened to me several times in the past. When the vehicle finally kept on going, I saw that it was a Hendersonville Police Department vehicle. I've now got a $300 dash cam set up. Front, back, left, and right. Because of the police, I can deal with the drivers in Hendersonville. It's like playing dodgeball with cars, but it's the hell of a lot better than looking over my shoulder the way I've had to. This went on for months. I moved to Hendersonville in my car in March 2021. I got so tired of being pulled over for the way my vehicle looks that I called into the Hendersonville Police Department and said I could be getting raped and robbed at the same time. And you'll find a way to make it my fault because I'm homeless. I believe I've brought this up before. I'm reading off of a copy and paste. Once again, bringing attention to the way they're treating the homeless. It's on Facebook as well. They had ripped through a homeless camp behind Walmart in Hendersonville and tore up the tents with knives for fun to evict them. And that's one of the stories I'd been telling when they wrongfully arrested me. I think they wanted me to shut up. I'll get to that later. It got to the point where every time I saw a police car, I thought I'd be pulled over. And I still feel that way. Another example is one night while I was going down Schoolhouse Road, I had the Hendersonville Sheriff's Department follow me so closely that I could not even see their headlights at night. When they finally pulled me over, I stopped being civil because I was so tired of being harassed that I didn't feel like I needed to be respectful this time. This is how the conversation went. Do you know why I pulled you over? Because you don't like the way my car looks. I knew as soon as I saw you that I was going to get pulled over. What did you do wrong? Nothing. You just don't like the side of my vehicle. Your bicycle rack is covering your plates. Oh, you mean the same bicycle rack that every tourist in town uses? You need to take your bicycle rack off. Why, when I plan to buy a bicycle to go hiking with my dogs? You should put the bicycle rack in your car. I walked around to the side of my car and I pointed to the back seat. I said, "Do you see these dogs? This back seat is theirs and I'm not going to cramp them up." I walked over to the front passenger side of my vehicle and pointed to the cooler in the front seat. I said, "This is where the cooler lives. But why don't you put it on top of your roof rack?" Because I'm not going to pull my cooler off my roof every time I need a drink. That's the gist of how this went. I made him feel like an asshole and that guy later put me in segregation in the jail because I asked for a specific bunk. Being autistic, I don't like schedule changes or being moved around a lot, and it was messing with me pretty bad. He yelled at me and verbally abused me on multiple occasions. This was one of them. His name was McCrary, and he was the one that pulled me over that night on Schoolhouse Road, who was riding my bumper so close it was putting me in danger of getting into a wreck. What if a deer had crossed the street and I had to stop my car suddenly? There's a lot of deer up there. It's possible. He would have slammed right into me. That's dangerous. I'm not the only person they do this to. I believe he was retaliating for what I said that night. He has a specific birthmark on his neck that I remember. On June 1st, Justin Brown, the guy I had made friends with, who tried to kill us, well, he and his girlfriend lived in the Walmart parking lot in their cars as well. Her car, actually. He needed help with cash. I needed help with my vehicle, not because it was wrecked, but I had a roommate who said he knew how to work on cars, and the deal was to work on my car to not pay rent, because he and his girlfriend were living in their car, and he fucked my cars up pretty bad. So it led me to, between the bank account problem from COVID and how much he messed my car up, I was looking for some help with my car, and I thought Justin would be that help. So Justin had been working on my vehicle, and it led me to believe that he could track me wherever I was around town, because very shortly after he started working on it, he could find me no matter where I was. Let's say he could be at Walmart in Hendersonville, I could be at Planet Fitness, and that's not every time, okay? I'm just giving an example. And he would come up on me while I was trying to avoid him. He was a meth addict, still is, and so was his girlfriend, and he methed out on us that day. Justin told me that the money I give him for fixing my car goes towards his daughter. His girlfriend, Michelle, told me that it goes towards the meth. I said, once it leaves my hands, I don't care where it goes, but do not involve me in anything drug-related. The night of June 1st, Justin had told me he would clean my car out. When it was T-boned, it had mildew. I'm not saying I had mildew when I lived in it. I was just trying to keep the car clean and get rid of any water damage that still might have been left. There wasn't much. It had plastic wrap on the windows for a few months after it had been T-boned, and I didn't see a need to put plexiglass on it, which is what's on it now, until I was living in it, because it had previously just been a commuting vehicle. A vehicle that is outstandingly well taken care of. I thought Justin was trying to do something nice. He stole a bunch of my tools and car parts and camping equipment. He also stole my Mossberg 500 and birdshot. And I've been planning on learning to go hunting with that. And I was too afraid of the police because of the stalking and harassment to call and report it stolen. This goes back to I believed anything that I called them for, they would make it my fault. Because when the police harass you like that, it creates a level of distrust. And so I wanted to handle what Justin did myself because of that. And if they had not harassed me the way that they did, I would have trusted them enough to make that report. Justin kind of knew I was trying to drop contact. I think he had like a predatory attitude. John always told me that he was trouble, and by the time I got around to trying to drop Justin, that was when he pulled that about cleaning my car, and I think it was to trap me into not dropping contact with him. His girlfriend Michelle actually had a 50B on him, and did the day that he tried to kill us, and neither one of them got arrested. Actually, Justin's got a record longer than my arm. I didn't have a record. I shouldn't have a record. As far as I knew, John only had one thing on his record, and he had already been wrongfully convicted the first time. So he was waiting on the district attorney to call him and say they were reevaluating his case because he didn't know how plea court worked. And so that was that. I know a few people that were wrongfully convicted by the district attorney who was fired last year in June, I believe. I think his name was Greg Newman. And I had also heard that he screwed a lot of people over. It's not okay to mess with people's lives just because you can. And he's supposedly the one that told the police to put me and John in jail. But I had a woman tell me, she's like, "Oh, honey, the district attorney didn't tell them to put you in jail. They were stalling to go get warrants for the two of you." So, once again, deception by the Hendersonville Police Department. I'm reading, I lost track of my email. I'm rereading this. Justin is a well-known drug addict with a lengthy record. I've already brought that up. I have the unfortunate habit of believing there's good in everyone. I know everybody does it. I think I tend to do a little bit more because of my autism. Even though I didn't trust people, I was trying to see the good in Justin, and there was just no good in him to be had. On June 3rd, Michelle had messaged me on my phone, and she told me they got into it, and the police were called. They were fighting at Walmart, and that was when she was told not to bring him around me or Justin. She had actually called me, I can't remember if it was a call or a text, but saying that she wanted to return the gun that he stole. And I told her that she needed to come alone because I didn't want to deal with him acting crazy. And on June 4th, I got another text from her saying, let's meet today. And she wanted to meet me alone, like we had agreed. And I didn't want to do it. Me and John were going to go to lunch, and I didn't want to deal with either of them, really. Me and John were very hungry, and we're going to go to Asiana Buffet in Asheville. I needed gas, so I went to the Sam's Club gas station to gas up. And that's when Michelle and Justin pulled up on us, and everything just went downhill from there. It was basically follow us or die type of thing. And I didn't know what to do. I'm usually good in bad situations. I used to react with military type precision in bad situations, but there was something about this one that really irked me. And it caused me to get tense and freeze up. I'm not afraid of much because of the way I was raised. And I told John, don't let me go by myself. And he didn't let me go by myself. I would be dead if he hadn't come with me. And I do believe that would have been better. The county wouldn't have destroyed my life if Justin had killed me. A lot of times I wish he had, because my life being destroyed over this. And take into account, I had to assume Justin put a tracker in either my vehicle or my phone, because he'd also touched my phone. When he started shouting at me and John at the gas station, he told us that he needs to give my gun back, and that he's a felon with a firearm, and he needs to do it right now, and he's completely out of his mind. No cameras, no pigs. I didn't want to deal with it, and just as I was telling them on the phone that we can't meet today, that was actually when they pulled up. It was a whole calling back and forth thing that I was trying. That's why I was trying not to deal with it. Justin wanted us to pick a place, and we both said we never had a reason to hide from the police, so you have to pick it, because you said no pigs and no cameras, and it went back and forth, and he made us pick, and we didn't know what to do. I don't know why he didn't just give it to us right then. He decided there were too many witnesses. I later realized that it was just because he didn't want witnesses to what he was about to do. And we ended up at the church behind Walmart. There's a police officer, and Justin went berserk and threatened to kill us again. Here we are thinking he's going to kill us with my Mossberg 500. I was later told by an officer that he had been arrested with a gun. I don't know what he had planned to kill us with, but he had definitely planned to kill us that day. Once again, I was too afraid of the police from being harassed to even ask that officer for help, and also too afraid of Justin. We ended up leaving that church and going to the one behind the marathon, and there's a guy doing lawn work with a trailer and everything, a green pickup truck, and Justin decided that he was a Fed too. For all I know, Justin thought me and John were Feds. He thought everybody was a Fed. And decided we were setting him up and threatened to kill us, and said we're messing with his life. He's facing 25 to life for murder, which I actually found out he is wanted for a 13-year-old cold case. And once again, I am actually too afraid of the police to say anything. I don't call the police anymore. I trusted them that day with my life, and they let me down. They not only let me down, they messed up my spine, destroyed my health, and everything that I built for myself. And I built my life from nothing, because my family was never there for me. I did have friends, but they were not always there, because a lot of them had their own struggles and issues. So we were just, we barely talked at that point. So we decided that Justin had to pick a place, and we got lost in 5 o'clock traffic. It was Friday. And he kept calling my phone, blowing it up while I was trying to drive. He almost caused me to wreck my car several times. I was so afraid at that point. And said he was at the Burger King on Four Seasons. While I was going down 7th Avenue when I got lost, that was when he started making threats over the phone, and I had asked John to not let me go by myself. And he knew I wasn't afraid of anything, and that it was a big deal for me to even say that. We pulled up at the Burger King on Four Seasons, and Justin was standing outside his girlfriend's car. He seemed to look calm, so I paused the car before I pulled up to them to see if he was going to make threats, and he didn't. I had actually told him over the phone multiple times, "You're scaring me, stop it, knock it off." Nothing worked. It just made him more irate. And I pulled up, I said, "Give us the gun so we can go to lunch." From which Justin had come up to John's window on the passenger side while he was in the passenger seat and pulled out a knife and started threatening us and arguing with John. And from what I understand, John does not remember this part of the argument. I've been told by somebody who will remain unnamed until I take this to court that John actually thinks that I gave him the gun. I didn't believe that he would screw me over like that. He's not that type of person. I don't know how many times John could have blacked out during this ordeal. We were both very stressed out. He's a 3-tour veteran of Iraq, and he'd been diagnosed with full-blown PTSD right before this happened. So I don't have to be a doctor to know that he blacked out. But he does not remember some things that happened, and I think he was trying to make sense of everything in his head. And he remembered right before he shot the gun, and right after, where he thought he was shooting Justin as Justin was backing down, and he didn't back down. John had pulled out my Glock 17, and he repeated "back away" 3 times. He did give a warning. Justin took it as a challenge and tried to get into the car. And very shortly afterwards, my ears are ringing, and I can't hear anything. I feel like I've been stabbed through the top of my head, and I'm yelling, "What the fuck?" and can't hear myself. I am terrified like a deer in the headlights and just frozen. Justin ran around both of our vehicles screaming how he's going to kill us when he gets out of the hospital. Who does that? There was a vehicle parked beside me. It was an SUV. I think it was green. I think it might have been a Jeep or mid-size older SUV. I later found out that witnesses corroborated exactly what me and John were talking about. There's a vehicle parked beside hers, which hers was right next to me. I don't remember the color of that one. And there were 2 vehicles in the back. One was a green old Honda, I think. And I think one was a goldish tan Saturn. And John, after he had shot the gun off, was crying, screaming that he'd shot somebody. We're both in shock, and we yelled at Michelle and told her to take Justin's crazy ass to the hospital, because, we're totally murderers. We totally wanted him to die. Sarcasm intended. And she made John get the Mossberg out of her car, and she took off. And then John panicked, and so did I. And we didn't want to stay in that parking lot because with the way Justin was acting, it was like inhumanly crazy. We thought he could take control of our car and turn around and come after us again. He was so unpredictable, there was no telling what he was going to do. We drove to the Big Lots and called the police and said someone tried to kill us and he got shot. Instead of being there for us and telling us it's okay, we're going to go catch this guy, they pulled up on us with guns and the SWAT team and arrested us because Hendersonville is not as pro-gun as you are led to believe. If you're a gun owner, and it's not even gun owner, if you are a homeless gun owner, how dare you defend yourself? You're the scum of the earth. That's how the police are in Hendersonville. I had told them multiple times that maybe it would have made them happy if me and John had come out of this in body bags, and I still believe that with everything I've got. They didn't even investigate anything. It was just a case of blame the gun owner. The gun owner's evil. She's homeless. We don't like her. We don't like her car. How dare this evil homeless woman have dogs and love them? And I've always said I would kill myself without my dogs in my car, and I'm going to hold to that, and I will get to that later. I believe what Justin did gave the police an opportunity to get rid of me and John. It goes back to us telling everybody how they were treating the homeless. They wanted us to shut up. They wanted us out of their way. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. I had 9 months to sit around and wonder what the fuck, and I can only guess. Everything still doesn't make sense to me about their reactions. I still feel like Justin knew somebody with a lot of money for him to get away with such a thing. He later kidnapped and raped his girlfriend, from what I heard, and that would not have happened had the police done their job. At the police station, the police told me that if I change my story, I'll go home to my car and my dogs. I did not understand why I was in cuffs. I'd almost just been killed. I was shaking. I was in shock. I couldn't think straight. My mind was going at a million miles a minute, definitely because of my anxiety and because of everything going on. And so what was also an overdrive was my autism, where I'm slow to pick up on indirect things. I could not pick up on the deception. And actually, while I was in the police car at the police station, they were talking about me and John over the radio, and they said, "Let's keep this quiet." And I said, "What?" And in a shocked tone, and he moved away so that I couldn't hear what he had to say. And it led me to believe I'm going to an FBI black site if I don't agree with the police. I was going to an FBI black site because I was homeless. The homeless in Hendersonville have actually been disappearing, so that didn't help. And my mind was not even on this earth, if I were to put it metaphorically. I thought that they would protect me, the police. My dad raised me to believe that the police are there to look out for their community. I do not believe that anymore. I've actually heard from a legitimate source that the police, not only in Hendersonville, but around the country, have done away with the oath to protect and serve. And so if you don't think that we are in a police state, you need to think again. We are already there. Our rights are already gone, and nobody has stood up and done anything about it. You don't realize how far gone our Constitution is until you wind up in a situation like this and you see the seedy underbelly of a city. I have trouble picking up on things that are not direct because of my autism, and that was actually worse that day. I felt like I was going to pass out. I was hungry. I was dehydrated. I was tired. I was in pain because all my stress went to my back, and I've had spinal problems for a long time. I did change my story because of everything going on in my head. I don't know what I was thinking, but if I had spoken to them in the right mind, I wouldn't have changed my story. But they had asked me, "Don't you have a duty to conceal your gun since you have a concealed carry permit?" And since I did not know John, I knew John had been in trouble. I did not know he was a felon. And I really don't care because he saved my life. But I told them no. And that was when they had left. And I guess they cooked this up after that. Maybe they were angry that I knew my rights. I don't know. I can only guess. But that's what I feel like it is. And that was when they came back and they bribed me with changing my story. And they said changing one of the details would send me home. So it was pretty much like bribing me into saying that I did something I didn't do, which is actually illegal. And it was coerced. And they knew I was shaking like a leaf, that I was not in my right frame of mind, and they took complete advantage of me. And it makes me wonder how many people they've done that to and how many people around the country have had to deal with this. We ended up in jail in booking, and we received a letter from the pound that my rescue, Shadow, was acting out, and that they had deemed him aggressive, and they were going to kill him. And Shadow had scars on his legs, like he'd been hogtied with barbed wire before I got him. He had scars on his waist. He had a chipped tooth. He didn't know how to be a dog. He didn't know how to interact with people. I had to get another dog to reteach him dog language, if that makes any sense. And I had finally trained him out of being fearful and was still working with him till that day. I knew that he was acting out. I knew that he was scared. I was his safe person. And the pound is actually legally not allowed to adopt out PTSD animals. They're protected by the ADA. And they did it anyway, because how dare a homeless woman have animals? That just makes me evil to love an animal. So, even though those laws were explained to the pound later, they did not care. It's actually a felony to kill a service animal, and I do plan to charge Brad Rayfield with that. I've got a signed and written statement from a girl who said he's got a habit of trying to kill so-called aggressive breeds. And when this happened, John started crying, and he said, I'm sorry, I killed your dogs. I said, John, you didn't kill my dogs. The county is going to kill my dogs. We didn't do anything wrong. Don't apologize to me. You did nothing wrong. I'm alive because of you. I spent 9 months in jail being verbally and physically abused by the officers. I was woken up out of a dead sleep to be thrown in segregation from the dorm because I had told my lawyer that they were being abusive. I had an officer put me in the restraint chair for not giving up the bottom bunk because I've had spinal problems for 18 years and my spine felt like it was ripping itself apart whenever I tried to get on the top bunk. And sometimes I would get up on the top bunk just out of fear of retaliation from them if I didn't. Even though it would cause me so much pain that I wanted, just so much pain. I'd received chiropractic treatment for spinal injury the year before, in 2020, where my car was rear-ended at 95 miles per hour by a 56-footer. And that was fixed. So I do have a chiropractor that can say, I fixed this, her back should not be out of place. When they messed up my back in the jail with the restraint chair, I didn't even get to see a doctor for over a month. And I was and still am in excruciating pain. I'll be lucky if I can work full time. Any little bit of work I do now actually throws my back out, and I can't afford a doctor. I need one pretty bad. I've always said I would not have a job without my muscle relaxers, and I was more right than I ever wanted to know. Another officer had put me in lockback in a medical cell that was freezing, and I was almost naked. They pretty much forced me to change in front of male officers. My hands and feet were going numb. I could see my breath. I was having panic attacks because it was just constant mental abuse. It's called mental warfare. It's actually a war crime, and it does apply to local authorities because of me being a prisoner. I felt like I would have a heart attack a few times from the fear and distress that I was under. I think I did have a heart attack or a stroke. I have a letter that was written to my lawyer where I could not move my arm. And I had every symptom of a heart attack. And I was too afraid to tell them because their doctors are pretty much do-nothings there, and it wouldn't have made a difference. I had heard, and I believe this because of the way they treated me, there was somebody on the male side who was actually a doctor and said he was having a heart attack, and they ignored it, and he actually died. I don't know his name, but this needs to be investigated. I had trouble sleeping because I was terrified of the officers. One of them, Darina Hawley, would kick the trash at me in my cell when I would slide it under the door because she wouldn't let me throw my trash away, and I didn't want a dirty cell, and she would say, "Here, live in your filth, you're disgusting." And I believe part of putting me in segregation was that they wanted me to shut up. I kept telling my lawyer everything that they were doing. And by getting me to write paper grievances, they could easily hide what was going on. And they didn't want me to have access to the kiosk where I could tell my lawyer or the counselor what was going on. And that same officer later gave me a veiled threat. She printed out a copy of Little Boy Cried Wolf to let me know that no one will believe me about anything she does to me. My lawyer later came to me with a second plea deal, and even though I hadn't done anything wrong, I knew my case would get dismissed. I took the plea deal because I was scared for my safety and for my life. I feared further injury, and I knew I needed a doctor for my back before it would heal wrong. I knew if I didn't, that my back would be messed up for the rest of my life. And I had actually planned to say something to the judge, but my lawyer kept interrupting me, and because of my history with domestic violence, being beaten by my dad, it was not hard to intimidate me into not saying anything. So I couldn't tell the judge what was going on either. I did tell the judge that Henderson County has taught me that my life does not matter and that there is no justice in the world. And that was all I could get in, and my lawyer even looked pissed off about that. I trusted the police to look out for me, and I'll never dial 911 again. I've found proof from being in jail for 9 months that gang members and drug addicts are more faithful and more likely to do something when you're in trouble than a police officer is, at least in Hendersonville. I should have known better than to trust them after the way they were harassing me. I just knew that I had to call because a gun went off, somebody got hurt. And really, we just wanted to go to lunch and have a good day and go to the dog park. But Justin and Michelle ruined that. I kept thinking her name was Melissa. I have trouble with names. I lost my job, best job I'll ever have. I almost lost my storage units with what I do have left. And if I don't come across some money soon, I am in debt. I need medical attention for my back, so I can get a chiropractor and some pain medication before it gets too bad. Every month for 6 months, the pound would send me a letter threatening to kill Shadow, and between this and the way that they were abusing me emotionally and physically, I had several mental breakdowns. They had actually bullied me into not acting like myself. I'd been to the chair 3 times. I'd been to the suicide room 3 times. I wrote dog killers in my own blood and flicked the camera off. I have Shadow's name and the other 2 babies, their names are carved into my legs. And I'm not that kind of person to do that kind of thing, but this is how far off the deep end I had went, because I was being abused emotionally, and I was falling apart because of it, and it caused me to not act myself. I ended up being so tired of them throwing me in lockback for absolutely no reason that I actually did start acting out and decided, well, if they're going to put me in lockback no matter what, which the reason they were doing it, I later learned, is because I was bringing too much attention to what they were doing to me as well, that I was going to give them a reason to. I actually started kicking the doors. I started mimicking all the crazy people that came through lockback and just doing a lot of crazy stuff that is not even like me. I was very lucky. The owner of B&R Towing knew me from when I did pizza delivery when I first lived up there, and I didn't ask him to get my vehicle, but he rescued it from an impound lot that he was afraid would send it to the crusher, and till this day, they'll never know how much that meant to me. They were very kind to me, and I didn't realize I'd left that big of an impression on people. Actually, when I came back into town, a few tow truck drivers were asking me how I was doing. They knew my car from way back when. Back then, from 2015 to 2019, everybody who knew me, they knew my car. And even before this car had been wrecked, it was always that Volvo and that Volvo driver everywhere I went, mainly because of my delivery job. Um, I did enjoy interactions with my customers when I did pizza delivery. When I did McDonald's, I didn't like many of them. So another reason I came up was for the people. But I feel like the police have ruined the town for me, and they've ruined a lot of things for me that's going to stick to me for the rest of my life, mentally. Mainly, I'll never trust an officer again. When I got my car out of impound, it actually had severe rain damage. Um, I think it previously snowed or rained a lot the day before, and the plexiglass fell off the front driver's door. My front passenger floorboard and back, no, the driver's side of on the front and the back were flooded for a little while. There had been mice in my car because I had food in it when I was arrested. I had to get rid of a $50-$60 cooler, which I really wish I still had, because it had maggots from having raw chicken in it for 9 months, which is disgusting. Actually, the chicken didn't rot, interestingly enough. It looked the same as it did the day that I left. Makes me wonder what they're putting in our food. I have had to spend a lot of money fixing my car that I otherwise would have not had to spend had they not done this to me, because the vehicle would have been in my care the entire time. Everybody knows Volvos don't sit well. This car took two 90-mile-per-hour hits for me. The Yukon that hit it is actually in the junkyard, which I call karma because they hit me on purpose. Henderson County Animal Services will not tell me where my dogs are. Legally, they have to, and they have to go get them and bring them back. It's against the law to impound service animals or adopt them out. They have to wait until 16 days after I've gotten out of jail or until my case is over to do anything at all. I'm trying to reunite with them, and any help I can get reuniting with them would really help me. Because I'm going to tell you this right now, I will hold to my promise that without my dogs, I would rather be dead. I'm traumatized by what I've been through. I'll never have faith in the police again. I told my friends and family what happened. They did not know where I was. They were scared for me. One of my friends had reported me missing. At least that's what they told me. I don't know where. I don't think they knew where I was. It was somebody that didn't talk to me often, but they noticed I wasn't logging into Facebook, and they knew I lived in my car. So I don't know if they called the wrong town. I don't know. I would think that somebody would tell me that somebody had reported me missing, but I guess since the police made me go missing, then it didn't matter. I wasn't able to call anybody in the jail because it's kind of like a payphone situation, and you have to have money on your books, which is like a bank account, and I never had any. The police took complete advantage of me having nobody, and they do this to a lot of people in Hendersonville. I used to support Blue Lives Matter, but I will never support that movement again. There are other groups, political parties that I do support now. I won't mention all of them out loud. And, I met a lot of girls and that told me the Hendersonville police are like predators and that they take advantage of people who are scared in bad situations. I met a woman who, when she was arrested, the officer told her, "I should have killed you. It wouldn't be the first time." I met 3 women who did not even know each other, were not there at the same time. Said the police are involved in human trafficking from Mexico, that Hendersonville is kind of like a crossroads. And they wouldn't give me their names. and I really don't have anything to lose anymore. The only thing they haven't taken from me is this car. I don't care anymore. Uh, the homeless behind the Walmart in Hendersonville called the police the Blue Mafia as an affront to Blue Lives Matter. It's a mockery of that movement, and now I know why. The police in Hendersonville act like a mafia rather than a community protector. I have contacted the FBI about this situation. I have contacted the State Bureau of Investigation, who will do absolutely nothing. I don't know if the FBI is doing anything. I have contacted every North Carolina politician that I can. I don't want to contact one that's anti-gun because that would not help me. And politicians only care about how they look. So I'm trying to be careful with that. I had 9 months to wonder what happened. What reason would they have to get a false confession out of me? Nothing makes sense. Everything's, even when I think about it, everything's still just kind of scattered. I'm in so much pain every day, and over-the-counter meds don't work. My doctor discharged me while I was in jail, and it's causing me to have trouble in everyday life moving around, and I do it because I have to, and it actually makes my back worse. I have very little income. I can't find a good job now. I should not have a criminal record. I cannot turn to family because of my family situation. I cannot turn to a lot of my friends because they're also struggling when it comes to money. Every day feels like death over my service animals. I've tried and tried. I put ads up. I have tried to contact every pound within a few counties. I actually found out where 2 of them were, and the rescue blocked me on Facebook, Freedom German Shepherd Rescue. I feel like they are heartless, and that they have no problem contributing to animals that are homeless and need someone to love them. They don't want animals to go back to a loving owner, because how dare that evil woman have a dog if she's homeless? I can't find Shadow. I miss buying them ice cream. I miss watching movies with my babies. I miss doing everything with them. My heart is broken. I don't have love in my heart for another animal. I want my dogs. They're not replaceable. I cry myself to sleep every night over my dogs. It's the only thing I focus on is finding my dogs, getting them back, and getting a lawyer to fix this. And living in my car was actually the American dream to me, because my rent was about $80 a month for car insurance. That was it. I was saving a lot of money. It was helping me restore my cars faster. And I could go anywhere in my home. I'm in debt. My life is destroyed. No, I'll never have a good job again. My health is destroyed. I actually need to see a doctor for my digestive system because they ignored food allergies in the jail. And I wouldn't eat or drink anything for a while because I was depressed, and the way they were treating me was making it worse. John's sitting in prison for saving my life, which is wrong. Even if someone's a felon, they shouldn't have to suffer for saving someone's life with a gun. The type of person that John is, when I was on a COVID leave and couldn't afford anything, he made sure I had food, made sure I had laundry, never asked for anything in return. We called the dogs the boys, as if we were a couple with 3 children. I know that my car doesn't look pretty, but it's not illegal to have an ugly car. I'm trying to go public with my story because this happens all around the United States and nobody stands up and says enough. So if you're a lawyer or a politician or somebody like a movie producer, drop a comment. try to get in touch with me. I could really use you right now. I need some help. I'm trying to reach Donald Trump about this, and I don't know how. I know he's an avid gun rights supporter. I've always had faith in him, and I know that he could do something if he found out about my case, and that by doing something about my case, I would be helping other people dealing with something similar. One time when I was in the suicide room, I overheard officers talking about me and John, specific details that couldn't have pertained to anybody else's case, and about my dogs, and I guess they thought I was asleep, but they they told the other officer to shut up, and said that he doesn't want to be looking over his shoulder for the rest of his life, that he needs to not say anything about it. And let's see. I'm reading through this. I mean, that's pretty much it. Right now, I'm trying to do two different things. I'm gonna restore both of my cars and leave everything to John in my will, and leave this world if I can't get my conviction reversed, since this was a miscarriage of justice, and get my dogs back. Just because I've lived a life of shit my whole life, and this is just the final straw for me. I feel like John deserves something. You know, he's also had, well, he hasn't had nothing, but he's never had anybody look out for him like he did for me. And I know that this car will be sentimental to him if I do pass away, and that he will take care of it. And just if I put enough money into my cars before that, then he will be more likely able to keep them because they're Volvos. If I get my dogs back and I can get my name cleared, I hope I can help John. I don't know if I can. I'm just never coming back to North Carolina. That's what I'll do. Obviously, if my name's cleared, I'll end up winning a lawsuit. I'll put the money towards my cars and a home, and if I have anything left over, after what I set aside for medical for my back, I'm pretty sure I'll need treatment for that for the rest of my life. I'm going to try and put some money towards changing some laws, especially laws that pertain to the situation, creating laws that pertain to this situation that can better help people in the future, not deal with what we had to deal with. So, you know, I realized, you know, I hadn't been depressed in a very long time before all of this, and I was starting to have hope that there was good in the world and that things were going to change, and, you know, I was almost where I wanted to be in life, and then all of this happened. It could happen to anybody. Anybody could befriend the wrong person. So, you know, there's my story, and I'm trying to figure out how to. Okay, this is Lucy's ashes. He is the one that was killed in Gastonia. When he died, I slept with his ashes because I didn't know what to do. I wanted to go leave this world and be with him. And that was when I got Shadow and we saved each other. This is Nanook, my first shepherd. He passed away in 2015. He was put down due to stomach cancer. And at least I had the choice of him being taken away. And I knew it was good for both of us because I didn't want him to suffer. I don't know what's going on with Shadow, but I hope he's not dead. I went to my other vehicle in storage today, and the first thing I did was look for their ashes because I am so emotionally fucked up from what the Henderson County has done to me that I feel like sleeping with my dog's ashes will make me feel less lonely. And I just want to be with Nanook and Lucifer if I can't have my babies back. So, that's the kind of grief I'm going through. It's like when a mother loses a human child. And I don't care what anybody says, those dogs are not replaceable. I found the home addresses to where the two white ones are. I did message the women on Facebook to explain the situation and just hoped they would have a good heart and help me out. But no, they don't. They're just as cold-hearted as the rest of the world. So is the rescue at Freedom German Shepherd Rescue. I will never support a animal rescue again that behaves in that manner. So today I put a new tire on my current storage. I have, before and after jail, I've met a lot of people who have helped me out, and I'm always going to be thankful for that. I had a mechanic teach me how to change my oil in my car, which my dad was too busy telling me to kill myself to do. I put my own alternator belt on. I always wanted to do auto mechanic work, but I don't get to do anything with my life because of evil people that run that county. My life is destroyed, and that's not going to change. And if you are watching this and you're in a position where you can do something to help me get my dogs back or help me overturn this, please contact me. I am making this video once because of TikTok cutting my videos short when I told my story, and just to keep you updated on what's been going on. I also have a citation in my glove box for a taillight that was never out. My taillight had issues years ago, and it had actually stopped. One light was dimmer than the other, that was about it, and it was in broad, like, daylight, blinding daylight. But now it does have an issue because me and my mechanic were messing with the motherboard on it, and it's one of those cheap made in China ones. And had we not had to mess with it, it would have been just fine. So, I mean, a dim light is better than no light. But they're not even legally allowed to pull me over for that unless I'm doing something else. I drove across several counties today, almost 100 miles, and every state trooper, every state trooper, every local sheriff, every police locally left me alone. The police don't stalk me in any other town, really. I want to say Henderson County, but that would include the Fletcher police, who leave me alone. Laurel Park, they leave me alone. Really, it's just any vehicle with Hendersonville written on it. And I've quite enjoyed not having to look over my shoulder, just driving down the road and minding my own business. I wish I didn't have to go back to hell, which is what Hendersonville is. So, I've always given the shirt off my back to people my whole life, and now that I need help, there's no one there to fix this. I'm trying to do it. I've been relentless about it. I've lost sleep calling lawyers. I'm trying to find one out of county because everybody knows each other in Hendersonville. I've lost sleep looking for my dogs. So it's not like I'm not trying. It's just that something that cannot be fixed if I try to do it by myself, and there's just nobody there to care. So this is a prime example of how a corrupt system or corrupt people in authority can easily ruin someone's life when it was actually going in the right direction.